Welcome back to Today Assets Report, the channel where we break down the biggest moves in crypto, finance, and the future of money before anyone else even knows what hit them. And today, oh man, today we have something absolutely massive to talk about. If you've been watching XRP for any length of time, if you've been patient, if you've been doing your research, if you've been telling your friends and family that something big is coming, today is one of those days where you get to sit back and say, I told you so. Because Brad Garlinghouse just laid out what he is calling the secret sauce behind XRP's future, and we are talking about a pathway to over $13 trillion in payments flowing through the XRP ledger. $13 trillion. Let that number sit with you for a second before we even get into the details, because once we unpack everything that is happening here, your jaw is going to hit the floor, so buckle up, because this is going to be a deep one. Let's start with what Brad actually said, because this is the foundation of everything. He broke it down into two incredibly simple but powerful points. Number one, give corporations a trusted, regulated entry point that is already embedded into the workflows they use every single day. Number two, remove the friction between managing different types of accounts, whether that's fiat currency or digital assets. And here is the kicker. Both of those problems that have existed for years in the enterprise treasury space, are now solved. They are not coming soon. They are not in development. They are solved today with Ripple Treasury. And when Brad Garlinghouse says something is solved, you better believe that the biggest CFOs and financial decision makers in the world are paying very close attention. This is not retail hype. This is enterprise-level infrastructure being deployed in real time, and the implications are staggering. So what exactly is Ripple Treasury and why does it matter so much? Here's what you need to understand. Ripple Treasury facilitated over $13 trillion in payments for its customers last year, and that was before the addition of native digital asset capabilities. Now, with the launch of digital asset accounts and unified treasury management built directly into the platform, Ripple has done something that no other company in the world has done yet. They have embedded digital assets directly into a treasury management system that Fortune 500 companies and enterprises of all sizes are already using. We're not talking about some crypto startup trying to break into the financial world. We are talking about a company that acquired G Treasury, a platform with over 40 years of enterprise treasury management experience, and then upgraded it with blockchain technology, XRP and RLUSD, in a way that makes it feel completely native to the workflows these companies already live inside of every single day. And here is why this is such a massive competitive advantage that you absolutely cannot overlook. No other treasury management system in the world offers this right now. That means that any company currently using Ripple Treasury has access to technology that their competitors simply do not have. Think about what that means for a minute. If you are a Fortune 500 company and you are able to send money anywhere in the world instantly, earn yield on your idle cash, manage your fiat and digital assets in one unified platform with no separate interfaces and no manual reconciliation, and your competitor cannot do any of that, who do you think has the advantage? The answer is obvious. Ripple has essentially created a two-tier financial system, and the companies smart enough to get in early are going to be operating at a level that leaves everyone else scrambling to catch up. That is a genuinely historic business advantage, and it's happening right now. Now let's talk about what this platform actually does on a technical level, because the features here are wild. We're talking about real-time fiat valuation, 15 decimal precision, automated transaction recording, a unified treasury dashboard, direct API connectivity, real-time market rates, and automated transaction sync. CFOs and their treasury teams can now view, hold, receive, and manage both fiat and digital liquidity, all held within their existing bank and custody providers inside a single system. Gone are the days of juggling separate platforms, reconciling across different workflows, and manually consolidating data from 6 different places. No other treasury management system does this. Ripple literally came out and said it themselves. This is a decisive competitive milestone for Ripple Treasury and for every customer on the platform. And when you think about the sheer number of customers we're talking about, from small and medium enterprises all the way up to Fortune 500 giants, the scale here is just breathtaking. Let's take a moment to really appreciate the scale of what we're moving toward here. Right now, the XRP Ledger is processing roughly $617 billion in annual volume, which works out to about $1.7 billion per day. That is already impressive. But when you factor in the potential volume coming from G Treasury and Ripple Prime alone, just those two companies, we are looking at a potential jump to $30 or even $40 billion per day flowing through the XRP ledger. Do the math on that. That is somewhere between a 20 and a 30 times increase in daily volume, and that is only accounting for two pieces of Ripple's ecosystem. That doesn't include any of the other developers building on XRPL. That doesn't include the ODL rails already in place. That doesn't include any of the banking partnerships that Ripple has spent years carefully building around the world. This is just the beginning of the flood, and here's the part that really gets your brain going. As more and more volume flows through the XRP ledger, there are really only two ways the math can work out. Either you need more XRP to facilitate the transactions, or you need a higher price per XRP so that fewer tokens can handle the same amount of value. And given the fixed supply of XRP and the growing demand from institutional players, which direction do you think the price is going to move? The community has been saying this for years. The utility case for XRP isn't built on speculation. It is built on the fundamental mechanics of how a bridge asset works inside a high-volume payment system. When you start running tens of billions of dollars through a system every single day, the asset sitting at the center of that system starts to carry a very different kind of weight. We are not just talking about trading. We are talking about real-world, real-time financial infrastructure that needs to function at scale. Now, here's a stat that should stop you in your tracks if you're someone who still thinks this is some distant future scenario. Ripple conducted a survey of more than 1,000 global financial leaders in 2026, and 72% of them said that they must offer a digital asset solution just to remain competitive. 7 out of 10. These are not retail crypto enthusiasts. These are executives, CFOs, and financial decision makers at some of the largest organizations in the world. And yet, most of them still lack a clear starting point that fits within the workflows they already use. That's exactly what Ripple Treasury solves. It gives them the trusted, regulated, familiar entry point they have been waiting for. Add to that the fact that stablecoins processed $33 trillion in volume last year, up 72% from 2024, and you start to see that the infrastructure is finally catching up to the demand. The runway here is enormous. Let's also talk about RLUSD for a second, because this is a critical piece of the puzzle that a lot of people underestimate. RLUSD is Ripple's stablecoin, and it's not just any stablecoin. It is fully regulated and approved by the New York Department of Financial Services, making it one of the most compliant and institutionally credible stablecoins in existence. When you pair RLUSD with the XRP Ledger and the treasury management capabilities of Ripple Treasury, you get a stack of technology that no competitor has been able to replicate. You have a regulated stablecoin, a proven high-speed settlement ledger, and now an enterprise treasury platform, all working together in one seamless system. And when corporate treasuries start using RLUSD to orchestrate cross-border and intercompany payments 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, while also earning yield on their idle cash, the game changes completely for everyone involved. And then there's the SWIFT connection, which honestly deserves its own video. Ripple Treasury is now directly connected to SWIFT, giving it global bank connectivity through the SWIFT Alliance Lite 2 platform. They've partnered to offer SWIFT reference data for IBAN and ABA lookups directly inside the Ripple Treasury workflow. And if a bank isn't currently connected to the system, the estimated installation time is just 7 days. 7 days. That means Ripple essentially has the infrastructure in place right now to connect this system to virtually any bank anywhere in the world, whether it's through SWIFT, through APIs, through SFTP, or through alternative banking networks. The Clear Connect layer at the bottom of the stack makes this system universally accessible. That is not a future capability. That is happening today, and the implications for global payment volume are almost too big to fully comprehend in real time. Now let's move over to Asia, because things are getting very exciting on that side of the world as well. SBI Ripple Asia, which is Ripple's joint venture with Japanese financial giant SBI, has just signed a memorandum of understanding with South Korea's DSRV Labs to bring the XRP Ledger to the Japan-South Korea payment corridor. This is a massive development. The Japan-South Korea corridor sees around $80 billion in annual bilateral trade volume, and even a single-digit percentage of that going through the XRP ledger would mean serious, significant, measurable on-chain volume. XRPL has been named as the primary ledger being evaluated for settlement, which means XRP could serve as the bridge asset between the Japanese yen and the Korean won. And separately, RLUSD is already set to be distributed in Japan through SBI VC Trade starting in the first quarter of 2026, positioning Japan as a regulatory testbed for the entire model. What makes this Japan-South Korea development particularly exciting is that it is not a random pilot program. This is Ripple deploying its enterprise stack through one of its closest strategic partners directly into one of Asia's highest value trade routes. SBI Ripple Asia is specifically designing next-generation cross-border rails that fit within Japanese and Korean regulations and can be deployed by real banks and real payment companies, not just tested in a controlled sandbox environment. If this study is successful, and the groundwork being laid strongly suggests it will be, SBI is in position to roll out a Ripple-powered payment model across Japanese financial institutions. And when you have a working corridor in a G7 market like Japan operating at scale, regulators and financial institutions around the entire world start paying very serious attention very quickly. Here is the big picture that ties all of this together, and I want you to really sit with this for a moment. Ripple spent years building the technology, securing the licenses, fighting the legal battles, and forging the partnerships. 75-plus licenses, 60-plus markets, 51 real-time rails, $1 billion market cap milestone for RLUSD, $100 billion already processed. All of that was the foundation work. Now we are entering the phase where that foundation actually starts to carry the weight of real institutional money moving through it every single day. The $13 trillion that Ripple Treasury facilitated last year was entirely on legacy rails. None of it went through the XRP Ledger yet. But that is exactly what is changing right now, and that transition is going to be one of the most significant events in the history of digital assets. We are watching it unfold in real time. The point that really crystallizes all of this comes from one of the sharper voices in the community who said something that stuck with me. The real importance of this launch isn't that Ripple simply put crypto into its treasury software. The real importance is that Ripple is making digital assets behave like cash inside the CFO's existing world. That is the killer app. Not a flashy exchange, not a speculative token, a practical, enterprise-grade, regulated, unified system where CFOs can manage the future of money without changing a single thing about how they already operate. 99% of CFOs are already aware of digital assets, and 54% plan to actively start integrating them within the next 12 months. The demand is already there, the intent is already there, and now, for the first time, the infrastructure that makes it practical is also there. Everything is aligned. So where does this all leave us? It leaves us at the beginning of something that people are going to look back on in 10 years and say, that was the moment. That was when XRP went from being a speculative digital asset to being the backbone of global enterprise payments. From $1.7 billion a day to potentially 30, 40, maybe someday hundreds of billions of dollars a day flowing through the XRP ledger. And when the volume numbers start appearing on chain, when you wake up one morning and see tens of billions of dollars moving through the ledger every single day, remember this video. Remember that we talked about it right here on Today Assets Report before most people even knew what Ripple Treasury was. This is the real upgrade. This is what the wait was for. And it is just getting started. Make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss a single thing as this story continues to develop. We'll see you in the next one.